COVID virus doesn't care who we are. It affects everybody, and it is across the board. So it has made us understand the common strength and the common fragility of the human condition.
You know, you gotta adapt to a new way of lifestyle that's different from the way you was living, and it was a little bit overwhelming until you overcome it and just do your job, what's needed of you to do.
We are essential employees, and our work is essential to keep our society functioning, and our children need us to be there. And it doesn't take anything for the members of Team Tulsa. They are ready to step up and do whatever it takes.
Our sales have just really skyrocketed. And you know, all the customers coming in and buying a bunch of products, and my team working day in and day out, you know, from dusk till dawn, just trying to keep product on the shelf.
All of these city employees are out doing work every day across our city, and they've had to change the way they do this work. But they have. They have proven how resilient and how dedicated to serving the citizens of Tulsa they truly are.
They try to get us a 34-hour reset in during the week, and during the months it was constantly just going, so we didn't get a stop for your 34-hour break and relax as much as you'd wanted to.
So we have great people here in Tulsa, and you know, let's just take advantage of the fact that we have I think, a force of individuals who really focus on the greater good.
Thank you for joining us as we remember, acknowledge, and honor the many individuals who have helped us weather the storm of this pandemic. As I think about the beginning of the year 2020, when we started learning about cases of COVID-19 coming to the United States, and our local leaders began making decisions with the best information that they had, trying to protect all of us and keeping us safe. I also remember the famous phrase, "Look for the helpers." And during those times, it was obvious the many people who stepped up to protect us and to help us. So as we think about all of these individuals, it makes sense for us to recognize them and to thank them for their service, for doing their jobs, and for helping us stay as healthy as we can. I'm also reminded of the phrase that we often hear, that we're all on the same boat. But this experience has reminded us that while all of us are experiencing the same storm, some of us are in different boats, different circumstances, and are impacted differently. So today, we remember, we honor, and we acknowledge the many individuals who have protected us and who continue to do so. And to them, we say thank you.
I think, like most people, I believe they became heroes overnight. We probably took a lot of those folks for granted over the years, and when something like this happens, we begin to look and go, wow, how would we survive and keep going without these wonderful people? And I think they are heroes.
So one of the commitments that we have here with Tulsa Public Schools is for us to always make our decisions based on what's best for our students. But the other thing that I always talk about is that we have to take care of our team too. Because when we're taking care of our team, they can do a better job taking care of our students. I think what's been so hard during the pandemic is that this situation has created risk everywhere, you know, and so we ask our team as essential workers to safely put themselves out and in places where they're serving our students. For a number of weeks in the spring, that really was our primarily, not only, but primarily our child nutrition team and others of us who came to support them. And they served during the course of just a few weeks more than 1 million meals to our students. And we were, they were driving buses and delivering meals and passing out meals through car delivery and so forth. And our teachers were coming out and in the parking lot and waving and saying hello and providing support. And then of course we moved into the fall, in which we expected to be back and we weren't. And so that added a whole different element of experience. But even still, while we are in distance learning for the first quarter, we still have in-person learning happening. And so what we have a commitment is that we are essential employees, and our work is essential to keep our society functioning, and our children need us to be there. Of course, they're concerned about their own health and the health of their family, but we have put practices in place so we all feel confident that we can keep each other safe.
And what I saw was everything got pretty quiet, a lot of empty parking lots, a lot of different changes for restaurants, how people go out and shop or don't shop. My big observation was that it's like the world was kind of shutting down quick. And it was a big challenge to watch that, because you don't really know what's going to happen.
So the COVID-19 pandemic has profoundly affected the healthcare industry in multiple different ways, in ways that we could have imagined and ways we could not have imagined at the start of this in January and February of this year. We have changed many practices, from infection control to limiting visitors to the hospital, how we use resources, how we allocate resources, how we allocate human resources are very, very important. How we handle elective surgeries, how we handle visits into the emergency room, how we encourage people not to ignore the normal health issues that occur in a population on a routine basis, because if they are ignored, they tend to exacerbate the problems. So the profoundness and the depth of the effect is long and very long lasting. So the pandemic has made us stronger as a city by realizing the commonality that we have as human beings. When you look at very practical things like having universal masking, washing your hands, socially distancing, Tulsa really has come together as a community to embrace those concepts.
In many ways, the pandemic really has made us stronger as a city. I think we've recognized for so long in Tulsa County, we've had people that hadn't had a voice. And because of the pandemic, attention's been drawn to these demographics who are vulnerable, who are most at risk, in ways that might take much, much longer for people to be aware that we have demographics here who need help all the time beyond just COVID. So there's a certain equity lens that we've been allowed to view because of COVID. There's work we have to do after COVID. We're trying really hard to do it during COVID, but our focus is on the response. But we're going to, I think, use this momentum once we're past COVID and focus where we need to do more work.
I think about tornadoes, horrific storms, and other such catastrophes. But I also think about the resilience of the community and how Tulsa always comes back and always responds.
I think the best thing that happened to Tulsa was people have to refocus and really figure out what's important. Maybe more purpose-driven now. Is your time with your family, how you treat others. The pandemic, the virus doesn't discriminate. It goes after everybody. So hopefully that would actually bring us together in Tulsa more to work together and help each other.
Oh, I am so grateful for our essential workers. I mean, our society is still functioning today because of people who are willing to do whatever it takes to serve others. And that's the kind of servant spirit that just gives me so much hope for our society. Team Tulsa is a part of that. They are out there every day. They're in our classrooms serving children. We have children in our schools. They are serving meals. They are keeping our schools safe. They are keeping our buildings healthy and stepping up and just doing whatever it takes. And that's really the heart of an essential worker, is just to serve others. And it's a special, special, special human who does that kind of service.
What I'd like to say to essential workers is, in healthcare, is a big heartfelt thank you. And as we stated repeatedly during this pandemic, I've been so proud to work with so many people in the healthcare industry, because their response, their being resolute, being dedicated, has been so apparent that one cannot even say enough of a thank you. Now, what we had to realize is, for a lot of people, this was just not a job. This was a calling to react to this kind of challenge, and it has been a very profound challenge to healthcare.
Without our essential workers, we would have imploded a long, long time ago. You know, and from my heart, it's thank you so much for taking the risk and put yourself second. And frankly, I think we have too much in this country of people putting themselves first. Our essential workers didn't do that. The unselfishness that they've showed to come step up, even when I know they're afraid, because people are afraid of this disease and transmission and what it does, but they continue to do their jobs.
The Oklahoma Center for Community and Justice is dedicated to achieving respect and understanding for all people. We do this through programs, initiatives, and partnerships in the community. Our vision is to eliminate bias, bigotry, and racism in our state and in our generation. Our unique program, Anytown Leadership Institute, promotes young leaders to find their voice and advocate for themselves and their communities in creating social justice. I was able to attend Anytown when I was a high school student, and it opened my eyes to new opportunities and experiences. It encouraged me to be the leader that my community needs.
I attended in 1994. Actually, that was the very first year that we held Anytown in Oklahoma. Anytown sort of refined my vision to working specifically on behalf of multiculturalism, inclusion, and taking a stand against discrimination, which is something I have an opportunity to do both in my volunteer service with OCCJ as well as my career as a public interest attorney. You know, systemic oppression hasn't gone away, discrimination hasn't gone away. We still have patterns of residential segregation that's reflected in our schools, our places of worship, and so there is still a compelling need for a program that focuses on what positive steps our youth leaders can take to make our community more inclusive.
So my experience at Anytown was an amazing one. It started out as a delegate in 2017, and for a lot of people, I was the same way. I didn't know what I was getting into. I had no clue what Anytown was. It was something my mom signed me up for and said, you're going this place for a week. So when I came and I just started talking to everyone, I realized how much of a family these people created and just how much you felt cared for, you felt loved. I really want people to understand that Anytown is a place for everyone. Anytown is a home for everyone. No matter your background, no matter your personal beliefs, you can come to Anytown and you can not only find someone that's gonna be like you, but you can also find people that are gonna be different and they're gonna talk to you about their differences.
I decided to attend Anytown in '93 as I was recruited by some parents and some classmates of mine. I think for me, what I'd want other people to understand is that it truly is an experiential camp, and you can't understand it until you've been through it, and it's so powerful, the lessons that I learned and that other students and delegates can learn as well. I think really personally allowing me to see the world through other people's lenses has really been impactful to me personally, and I really want to make Tulsa a more inclusive place for my daughters and for other generations. I think if everyone attended Anytown, the world would be a better place. People would see different perspectives better and consider those when they're acting and speaking.
I saw through my experience at Anytown that I really wanted to make a difference in the world. And for me, that was working in politics. I chose to work for politicians that are doers and they fight for everyday Oklahomans. They fight for those who are underrepresented and can't fight for themselves. Anyone that's considering attending Anytown, I tell you to do it. You're not going to regret it. It honestly was, every year that I went was the best experience I had all year. I look forward to it every single year. It helps calm me down and get me back on track and remotivated to do what I do every single day.
I have so many wonderful stories and fond memories of Anytown, but my favorite takeaway is probably the watching and hearing about the incredible number of Anytown alums and what they are doing with their lives after Anytown, and are doing such amazing things as they have taken that Anytown message with them wherever they have landed after Anytown. Many of those young leaders who now number 1,000 are the champions for diversity, equity, inclusion in their workplaces and their communities across the country.
As more and more companies are beginning to understand the benefits of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, we know that employees need resources and tools to be able to help move this diversity, equity, and inclusion forward. And so the Inclusive Leadership Institute helps provide that to participants, where they come together, they learn best practices and tangible, actionable things that they can do when they go back to their jobs, to have places where everyone feels welcome, accepted, and where everyone can thrive.
DE&I stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Understanding DE&I topics and initiatives in the workplace can sometimes be a challenge because people don't always have the language. And of course, that language is always evolving. So whenever we have opportunities to get together to discuss current topics on these issues, it creates an opportunity for more people to come together and to dive deeper and to stay up with the times on an ever-evolving topic. Something that I would tell someone who's considering joining ILI is that they should absolutely do it and soak in every single moment, because not only will the lessons that they learn there be valuable beyond the actual institute, they'll be able to take that into their workplaces afterwards and to form really strong bonds and connections with other like-minded D&I focused individuals in the community.
I think the training that OCCJ did was important to my organization because I'm a firm believer that you can buy a product from anyone, but the products that matter are the ones that leave value on you and long-term value on you or anybody as a person. And so when I think about the long-term impact that OCCJ had on me, I know that's the one that I want to replicate in other young adults. And so when we had this program and we were thinking, okay, we want to do a diversity and inclusion training, we don't just want to do something that's cookie cutter where someone's going to be like, I already been through that before. I definitely thought it was super important to go to people who knew how to do this, and not only how to do it, but how to make it land with young adults.
We are becoming a more diverse school system, and it's always good to have the kids talk and see other people's differences, their cultures, their history, and their family history and lineage, and talk about it openly and learn how to talk about it and embrace it at such an early age. It's really a great program that needs everybody's support. So continue to support Different and the Same. I see as our program as just really just spreading the word and creating relationships across boundaries, across what really aren't boundaries, but perceived boundaries, so that people can realize that there really isn't a boundary there at all.
I think that diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are so important for students because our students are forming their ideas and impressions about themselves, about the world, and about other people right now. And so to be able to support them in their figuring out their place in the world and the way they interact with others, figuring that out early in a way that helps them to see the importance of that love and respect and appreciation for all, and the way in which we hope to see them develop as people who become those champions for others. Starting early is key to that.
During my time at OCCJ, I often wished that we would work ourselves out of a job. That never happened. We would see some progress and then we would have a setback. And we realized that our work would never be finished. Because we're experiencing a great deal of social unrest in our country right now, I think it makes our programs more relevant than ever. And because our programs are proven and tested, they are for the most part timeless. And I think they offer tools to the next generation to help us build a more just and inclusive society.
I used to say a lot, we're getting a lot better, but we have a long way to go. Then sometimes I go, well, maybe we aren't getting a lot better. It's a constant struggle, it's a constant challenge. If we educate our young people, and the young people grow up without bias, bigotry, and racism, our society will benefit. It's a long process, however.
OCCJ's path forward has a lot to do with unity, and we lack that, and when we get out of crisis mode, we kind of go back to our, I don't want to say silos, but our mechanisms and our routines. And I hope that OCCJ going forward will be able to continue unity and bringing the community together. That's my hope, that their goals will encompass all that.
We also say thank you to you for your support for OCCJ, for the mission and the work that we do to achieve respect and understanding for all people in our state.